here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it's going to be the turn of the Scottish-based band Thrum, because I recently spoke to two of the members, Monica Queen and Jonathan Smillie, to find out more about life, love, poetry and all that other groovy stuff. They have a tour that's going to be coming to the UK in the early part of July. In fact, July the 7th to the 13th. I will put a link in the notes below of the band. So anyway, this is the interview with the two members. So after several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get down to the exciting subject of the early formative years. Monica, it's over to you.
I would say it was probably, that was maybe a little bit before my time, but certainly it would probably be reasonably sort of similar. I was always a bit of a showgirl, you know. Johnny absolutely hates most musicals.
Right.
I actually happen to love most musicals, so I was always quite into sort of the drama and the theatrics of music, and that's sort of what drew me to listen to music, I suppose. Before tapping into popular culture.
Yes.
You know, I always loved singing it. I always loved singing, going to chapel when I was a young girl and listening to all the women round about me and the men, you know, putting on their best Sunday voices. And I was always quite, my ear always picked up to maybe someone in the congregation who sounded semi-professional. And so I loved all the choral and sort of hymn singing that went on there. And then maybe as a young teenager, Top of the Pops was maybe a Steadfast.
Yes.
TV listing. So didn't really have any great awakenings, but certainly when David Bowie, when as you were saying, maybe somebody like Mark Bolan from T-Rex appeared on screen as a young girl, you were quite taken with it all, and by the way that they looked. So started to sort of get into a bit more rock and roll listening to along the way. But I was also very, very rooted in old classic timey stuff, like even as a young kid, Roy Orbison.
Right, the Big O.
Yeah,
yes.
I know, for being such a young girl and not really having too many influences round about me. Big Sister's record collection, Big Brother's record collection, like Joy Division.
Yes. So what were your musicals that you enjoyed? Was it the work of, I don't know, Jesus Christ Superstar, or was it before that?
I would certainly say Jesus Christ Superstar was probably the most sort of rock and roll that it got, and a bit psychedelic. So that really, really tickled my ear. Yeah. And on reflection and looking and listening to it now, it's an absolute masterclass in theatrical music.
Ian Gillan from Deep Purple was, I think, on the soundtrack to that. So
absolutely,
you can't.
And every time he, when I watch it and he hits that high note,
well, that's Ted Neely.
Is that Ted Neely? Is it?
Yeah, the film
was Ted Neely. You're right.
It's a great debate as to whether
Ian
Gillan or Ted Neely.
Right.
Jesus,
Yeah.
We were in Rome recently, and Jesus Christ Superstar was on, and Ted Neely, the original Ted Neely from the movie, was playing the part, actually. I never managed to get unfortunately, but I'd quite like to have seen that.
Yes.
But I had that, long before I knew Monica, I also had the LP, the Gillan on it, because as a kid I was a bit of a rocker, so I loved the Gillan portrayal of Jesus at that point.
Well, yes,
But that
absolutely.
stands up. That music stands up to this day. You know.
And did you get into War of the Worlds, by the way? Because that came along kind of mid-70s, didn't it? There was the soundtrack to War of the Worlds that seemed to appear in a lot of people's houses alongside Pete Frampton Comes Live. There was a Band on the Run. Sort of, these albums that seemed to, I think, come at Christmas, and then suddenly you played them to death for a year and got quite excited. But did that come on your radar at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but it was there. Again, these stands that were around. The backtrack to growing up, as a kid, they were always on somewhere, I mean, certainly I loved the a bit of science fiction. I loved the book and the story and all that, so I was already interested before I even heard the music.
Yes. So, Johnny, what was your musical awakening that changed everything for you?
I mean, there's stages to that. I mean, Monica's talking about really early on, growing up as a kid. And
yes, but we never forget those ones.
Elvis was the first thing that I came across. Elvis, The Shadows, all those movies were on TV, Cliff Richard. I loved all that stuff, when I was 5, 6, 7, and I absolutely was a bit of a music nerd from even at that age. A wee tape recorder and around taping things off the TV and all that. So that was my first inclination. I suppose the next, and you grew up listening to again. It was On Top of the Pops, and was sort of informed by that. But I suppose punk rock was the first thing that really, was a revelation to me. I started to get older, and really. Sort of became, I suppose that after punk rock, there was nothing else I was going to want to do except play guitar. So it sort of got me playing 3 chords and the truth, and
yes,
never really looked back. But the other one thing that really, and I'm quite well known for it, is being a huge Neil Young fan. But it was just watching the Old Grey Whistle Test as you did, and. Neil come on one night. It was in Like a Hurricane, with the wind blowing in the hair and all that. It's a kind of classic version, and that was it. I was like, "Who's this guy?" And I went out the next day to the local record shop to seek this record out.
Yeah.
And so that was always there. So I was always a bit of a hippie at the same time as being a punk.
Well, it's
a very, very, very confusing time for him, it sounds like.
It was hard not to fall in love with Neil, Rust Live or whatever the album was.
Yeah, Rust Never Sleeps, yeah.
And, and there was that one live album where it's acoustic and he says, when I get big, I'll get electric guitar, and he launches in.
I love that.
And that moment where it's,
an electric guitar. Yeah.
It's kind of it's kind of a rite of passage in the sort of 70s or 80s listening to that album, and and also getting into the lyrics of Neil's life, which is just amazing. So when you got to 16, are you a similar age, by the way? God, that's such a personal question, isn't it? Did you leave school? Were you in different worlds at that point in your life?
Yes. Well, I went on to study physics. Well, Monica was doing theatre, drama and theatre. So we were... She's probably more of an artistic world than I was. Although I was in bands by that time, it's kind of getting pulled towards studies at the same time,
Yes.
Pushed through, mainly because the parents were like, I'm going to burn your guitar. You must study. So I kind of.
So did you both
put my head in the bricks, I suppose, while Monica was on the stage singing? At that
yes,
point.
well, quite. So did you both grow up in Bells Hill, Scotland? Where was your hometown?
I don't know if you know the geography. The geography of Lanarkshire, North Lanarkshire, is there's Coatbridge and there's Motherwell and Bellsill's right in between. And Coatbridge kind of right borders on Bellsill. Like the Hamrick Hotels in Bellsill, that's where everything happened, where all those bands blossomed.
Yes.
Us to some extent. But that was like 20 minutes walk from my mum's house, the Hamrick Hotel. So for the first, when I met Monica in Bellstill. She was in Jesus Christ Superstar. She was singing Jesus Christ Superstar, and I went along to see her, and that's where I met her.
Right. Who were you playing in the production?
I was playing the Mary Magdalene part, the prostitute, of course.
All the good songs.
But with all the good songs. With all the good songs.
Did you enjoy his singing? I Don't Know How to Love Him.
Oh, I sort of kind of, I was aware of like the ingredients to actually have a great song and have people, respond to, not necessarily not responding to me, but just responding to a piece of music that had some sort of kind of sentiment in it about, lost love and all that kind of stuff. So at a very young age. So yeah, so she had, wish I could remember her name that starred in it.
Yvonne Elliman.
Was it Yvonne Elliman? Yeah.
Right.
I mixed up. That's the Superstar one. Anyway.
The bad girls get the good parts.
So were you both? Yes, quite. I know. I think that was a Meatloaf line. So were you? Well, Jim Steinman. But then so you were both students in the 80s.
Yeah, but I mean, Johnny's a few years older than me, so we're not that far apart, kind of age-wise.
No,
I mean, I did finish, and I was teaching for about a year before I just gave it all up for rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
never looked back. But Monica and I were in, had formed the band and our A band, and we're starting to get attention and people interested and crowds coming along.
Had the Soup Dragons had a big impact on your life during the 80s?
I mean, I would say personally for me, no.
Not really.
Not really,
I mean, we know the guys
them really well
and all that, but and I've learned to appreciate them later than that, to be honest. But
yeah.
No, I mean, we were very much in the Teenage Fan Club and the Pastels and
yes.
they were Touchstones, the B-Mix Bandits and all that. But for some reason, the Soup Dragons was out of that sort of group of Bill. So a bunch of sort of passed us by somehow.
Until they appeared on Top of the Pops, and we thought,
they're good. They're good. And there was a lovely little film with John Peel visiting, wasn't there? And he's sort of wandering around.
Right, yeah.
It's a really nice little piece, and we all thought we should come and have holidays in the area.
Well, it's quite good for the music, but not much else.
So what was your kind of during the 80s, okay, on the indie pop C86 world, there was that kind of moment, there was the punk, there was post-punk, and there was other scenes like New Romantics and various other electronic stuff and all that malarkey. But then, indie pop comes along from 83 to 87, which is kind of the years of the Smiths. And there was a real chapter. Was music on your radar at that stage? Or were you on the stage, or were you in the physics lab being studious? Or were you kind of interested in that scene at that time?
Oh, yeah. By that time, we spent most of the time in the nightclubs, watching bands. It was a very great sort of underground scene at that point, and the sort of club records would be that whole sort of underground indie,
Yes,
that'd be the playlist on the decks at that point, So no, wasn't quite formulated what we wanted to do, but we were really interested in what everyone else was doing, and we pretty much had immersed ourselves completely in the music by that time. And it was just soaking up everything. I mean, we loved everything. We really have a really eclectic taste. So anything that offered some kind of soul or melody or biggie dance or whatever, we were there, or it was noisy or,
I think we did attend about, at one point, 5 or 6 kind of indie discos a week here in Glasgow.
Right.
You could go out 7 nights a week, which we tried to do. Maybe did it for a wee while, and there was an indie disco, round every corner at one. It felt like that, because you were always able to find somewhere to go and, get yourself on the dance floor and be with
really.
kind of like-minded people,
Didn't see daylight for about 2 years.
No. And did that kind of, because when sort of that moment, a JFK moment where the Smiths broke up, and then there was like, oh God, that scene is kind of finished, and then Ecstasy came along, and then suddenly the soundtrack changed. The Soup Dragon started getting danceable. The Happy Monday, Stone Roses, Primal Scream. You went, oh, this is slightly different. Did you go on that journey as well with?
No, we definitely didn't. That didn't. That's one route we did not go down. But just didn't. I mean, it was okay. I could see some of it, but we certainly weren't. We're not those. You get those people that sort of, if you remember the 90s, you weren't there, that kind of thing, because we're too busy at raves, hyped up in ecstasy or whatever, no, that wasn't us at all.
Yes, but then as the 90s and the Thatcher years finished and John Major came in, and then we had grunge started to appear, and then the early moments of Britpop. What was your kind of musical moment sort of straddling that decade and sort of moving into the 90s? Because you're a 90s band, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, I think...
Did you feel like you might have missed the moment?
Was a time of exploration, but we couldn't really find something to hang our hat on. But when that sort of American, because we were more into American bands and British bands. I mean, not that I didn't like the Smiths and some of the other ones you mentioned there, but it wasn't until that sort of American influx into the UK started to happen in the sort of college scene that we thought, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of what we've always been wanting to do. We just felt at home in that instantly, and suddenly had something that we felt we could be part of, and that it was natural. With the music we were already making, somehow had a place that it fitted now.
Yes.
So yeah, that early 90s influx from America, that did influence quite a lot of Scottish bands, but that was the first moment where we felt, oh yeah, we could be part of this.
Right. So were you juggling quite a few commitments when you began the band, or were you?
No, we pretty much decided that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
We were very poor. we just found a way. I mean, there was a way to do it then that the kids don't have now. You could sign on, and there was the thing that got our band. We actually started a thing called GO, it was Glasgow Opportunities. It's like a business opportunity thing.
Right.
You didn't have to sign on or anything, right? And you had to go to a business meeting once a week. It was quite good because it got you thinking a more, business-like approach to the thing, And by the time we had finished that, we were already, we had a record deal, So kind of, we had a wee bit of a leg up, we were at the bus to eat some nights, for sure.
Well, yes. Well, I think
made that commitment. There was a guy, Steve Shane, he's not with us anymore, used to run the Berkeley Studios up here. It's the premier sort of rehearsal studio. It says everybody from Neil Young, Beyonce, but you name it, everybody uses it because it was he did it right. Anyway, he used to say that you can't have a full-time job and be in a band. You can't do it. You have to make the commitment.
Yes.
And at that time, I think it was right. I really certainly believed that. So we took his advice.
You took it. Well, I think
a number of years together, but no, we weren't juggling anything. We just wanted to make music.
You were going to do the music. Yeah, well, in the 80s, and I suppose the 90s as well, but I know the 80s better, unemployment was kind of quite easy to claim. And then you had job seekers allowance and enterprise allowance schemes. So I think a lot of people, you had a 1-year scheme where you could just still get the dole, but you didn't have to keep signing on or go to restart interviews. Yeah, so I think you just had to make out that you just had to put something down. You could do anything, a write, a poet. Yeah. And that was it. That was like almost having a grant, actually. So then you committed to the band. So when did you get your other two members? How did they sort of appear in your life?
We just, like every other band takes a route. You hang out in music shops round about the city, and you put out little adverts on the notice board and with your phone number, and people phone you, which they did. So the core was just myself and Johnny. We were basically just looking for a drummer and a bass player. We didn't want keyboards or anything at that time. We just wanted a 4-piece band, and they just answered the advert, really. But certainly Dave McGowan, original bass player in Thrum, answered one of the ads. He was just a young boy at that time. He called the house, and we went to the train station and met him. I think he was just about 16 or something at that point. So, and he was already showing at that point that he was, that he could play his instrument. So we got Dave McGowan, and then we got another drummer from Lanarkshire called David.
I forgot his name.
Give us a minute. Dave Gormley. So he was another Motherwell boy. He was out from where I grew up in Lanarkshire. So he drummed with us for a little while. And then we moved over more permanently to Gary Johnson, who actually, drums on the classic Riffarama album that we made for Fire.
We kind of pinched him from a great band. I don't know if you ever came across Perspex Whiteout. They were one of the great lost bands of that era.
Yeah.
Really, I think you'd love them if you're into that whole thing, really fantastic,
Mm-hmm.
They never released a record. But I mean, everybody knew them, I think like Norman saying, wish you'd written their songs and all this kind of stuff, they're very well respected, but didn't hang about long enough to get.
Yeah, so you've got to have perseverance. Was Roy Cross? Yes.
So they were breaking up. We pinched them.
Yes.
Gary, and he became and even now to this day still plays with us when he can.
Yeah. So it wasn't nothing out of the ordinary. Just the same route, pretty much as a lot of bands. It wasn't a high school band. We didn't all go to the same school, met each other like that sort of thing. So it came pretty much.
Dave, even he now plays with Bill and Sebastian and Teenage Fan Club among others. So.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Did you get a sense at that time that there was a musical shift going on, or certainly something kind of exciting about to happen? Because you were kind of at the zeitgeist at this point, weren't you? Or at the beginning of this kind of time?
Well, as I mentioned, like punk rock, for me, it kind of was the same. It felt very similar. But, it's very underground at that point. But it seemed... It was like so exciting, It felt like, Glasgow by '89, the whole, I suppose Orange Juice onwards, and it became the Delamitte's, Deacon Blues, and all that kind of thing, It very much had Glasgow was very successful in the music world, but it was that kind of quite polished soul boy kind of scene, and none of them really understood or were aware that this new underground swelling was happening. It just sort of crept up,
Yes.
But we were very involved with it and sort of kept up with it, So
Did you used to play at King Tut's Wawa Hut in Glasgow? Is that a regular place?
We played there.
Yeah, many times. But there was another great venue called the Apollo, which was a kind of... We used to call it a kind of veggie punk sort of kind of bar.
Not the Apollo Theatre.
No, the Apollo bar. We had a lot of like-minded sort of kind of post kind of punk, kind of rock bands sort of kind of hung out. We drank there. I worked there. There was, sort of kind of rehearsal studios had set up within this place, and we all kind of Yummy Fur and Urisai, Yatsura, ourselves, a host of AC Acoustic, a host of other bands of kind of early 90s.
A guy called Craig Tannock, who still runs stereo and mono and all these venues to this day.
Right.
This was his vision, the 13th Note. I don't know if you know, that's kind of legendary. It's a guy called Craig Tannock, and he sort of created that scene in a lot of ways just by providing venues and for a scene to happen.
Yeah, there's a small kind of core of thinking outside the norms of King Tut's. Probably was too much of a professional type kind of venue kind of setup, whereas
King Tut's was great. I mean, it is great. It was always, when we were touring, around the UK, you'd have to say King Tut's deserved all those awards it got. It was the best sort of club venue in the UK, and maybe still is. Just really well set up. Great PA, dressing rooms, showers. They thought about what touring bands needed.
Well, quite, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good scene because, again, during that time, like we had the John Peel show, which gave us that kind of broadcast. And there was like the weekly papers. There was also monthlies. And also every city and town would have an indie night. So bands could get a bit of a circuit going in their little transit van, couldn't they? So Norwich had the Arts Centre, and then there was, I'm not going to go through all of them, but, like the Princess Charlotte or the sort of Square in Harlow or the Duchess in Leeds. I am going through them. I'm trying to do that just to prove my knowledge. Yes. So did you, when you got your first single out, EP, in fact, you brought out two, didn't you? You brought the EP and then So Glad in the same kind of almost the same period. Were you touring outside Scotland at that stage? Were you sort of getting your transit van and going around the country?
Yeah.
And were you supporting or headlining venues at that stage?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, smaller venues and supporting just anything we could get,
Yes.
So did a bit of both. It was probably by the time the album was out for properly headlining venues. But
so had you done demos then to get signed to Fire Records at this point? Had you sort of approached them or they approached you?
Yeah, no, we had made the crazy thing about that period, in particular in Glasgow, was major record companies, particularly, they would give you. I work in a studio, and an average budget for an album that sort of independent bands release is maybe about 3 to 5K.
Yeah,
a decent album, a good quality album. Major labels would give you that to make a demo. It's just a waste of money. Lots of demos that could have been albums. It was a lot of, that time that seemed all right, but now looking from here, it's like, God, we could have made 10 albums. So yeah, we did make demos, and major labels with Tom and Haw, and and they'd come up and see, and we'd also had Sol Galperin, RCA and Warner Brothers, all these people would be up, and they would all be like, but Fire didn't even come up. They just heard one of those demos and just phoned us up and says, we want to sign you now. We love this. So, and of course they had all these great bands that were the bands we loved at the time. So it was just like, right, okay, when do we want to sign?
Did Alan McGee get to see you at that stage as well? Had he sort of?
He was a wee bit later than that. That's a wee bit earlier than. Well, I don't know what he was doing at that time. But famously, Creation and all that. The Teenage Fan Club went Creation from Fire Records.
Yes.
Then it was just a wee bit later than that. So we probably signed to Fire before he was looking at bands, really, or that I was aware he was looking at bands.
Yeah, because it was in '93 that he went to see, I think, Sister Lovers at that King. God, he just misses the name. Yeah, so he'd gone to see Sister Lovers, which was at King Tut's Wah Hut, and Oasis then were playing there, and he signed them. So that was. That was that period. So I just wondered if he was aware of you.
Crossover there, I suppose. Yeah, definitely.
Had he maybe seen us first?
We could have been the Oasis.
We could have been. Who knows?
Yes.
Who knows?
There you go. Well,
Sol Galperin was pretty keen to make his first band. Sol Galperin. We didn't go with him, so he signed Swed instead, and the rest is history. Not quite as big as Oasis, but he done pretty well with him. So. there was a kind of a sliding doors moment there where we could have been.
But there was also a lot of money started to slosh about with CD sales and stuff, wasn't there? There was a lot of people doing well for themselves.
Well, people can make a living then, without being a pop star. Yeah, I mean, there was a scene then where if you could sell 100,000 albums worldwide, you could tour and make an okay living.
Yes.
That was how it was done then. It's 100,000 sounds like a lot, but it's not really. It's 10,000 in each territory. It's not a big number, and you could make a living doing that. And of course, poor kids these days, there's none of that.
No, there's none of that. I know. It's very different.
It's gone for a long time.
It's gone.
That ship has sailed, hasn't it? So when you got to do the album, had you demoed and rehearsed those songs and then just went into the studio and did it over a couple of weeks? How quick was it to record the album?
I mean, you're really, you're taking us back now to.
I know. You have to count your fingers, like how many when you go back on decades.
Can hardly remember.
Well, we had to do it in those days. Quite a long time after, because we made other records, big budget records. The way an album was made then was they kind of had a month allocation, maybe 3 weeks in the studio, and a couple of weeks mixing or whatever. So you just had to get in and do it. It's not like now when you can come in for a day and then a month later you can do another wee bit and you can take your time. Some bands take 3 years to make a record, and you had to be ready. You had to have your.
Yeah.
You had to have more than that. I mean, I can't remember how many songs we had, but we went to America. I don't know if you know that, but Fire sent us to America to make the record.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I recall it was we pretty much were doing a lot of live shows. We didn't do any pre-production or any of that kind of stuff because we very much had a very kind of, hands-on. We knew what we wanted. We didn't want anyone else to suggest anything to us with song structure, melody, anything to do with what we were creating ourselves. So from what I can recall, we pretty much went to San Francisco and we took our live sound with us, and we very much were of the thinking that we're gonna make a record that is just going to be like a live performance record, really. So there was just the four of us, naively, possibly, but we had no fear. We really knew what we wanted to put down on tape. So we got put on a plane, went to San Francisco and recorded the 10, 11, 12 tracks completely ourselves, all within a sort of kind of 2 week stretch.
Blimey. Who was your producer?
There was two producers, an engineer and a bunch of interns, which was the norm back then,
Yeah, in America that's very much the norm, but we still...
It was in this grand studio. I mean, you could play football in the main room. It was bigger than Abbey Road one.
Yeah, which studio was that?
It was called Brilliant Studios at the time. It's the guy Norm Kerner who owned the studio, the producer. He has now moved to LA and he works for some of the biggest acts. He's still. I mean, he went to his new place. It's up in the hills of LA with a swimming pool. But the studio that they had in San Francisco was pretty impressive in terms of palm trees in the main room, Of course, at that time it was tape and it was all analog and it was beautiful,
I mean, you might ask what was the reason for San Francisco? The reason that we did it in San Francisco was because we actually went on a UK tour with Grant Lee Buffalo.
Right.
Just as we were searching around and wondering where we're going to record the album. So we went on tour in the UK with Grant Lee Buffalo, got chatting with those guys. They used Brilliant in San Francisco, had recommended it, and we just actually pitched it to Clive and the team at Fire Records, and lo and behold, they actually said, "Okay, we'll if that's where you want to record it, that's where we'll send you." So there we were. The four of us packed our guitars and some clothes and set off to San Francisco, and that is as easy as it actually was.
Blimey.
Well, easy.
Just like that. Well, that's you just went straight there, didn't you? No messing
just
about.
went straight there. Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of mind blowing at the time to just get that opportunity.
Just thinking, God, who's got the sun cream?
Well, it wasn't sort of winter. It was sunny, it's sunny in California, but
it's amazing.
It wasn't the full summer.
Did that change?
We were down to LA for a week as well while we were there, and did some shows on the Strip, which is fantastic, and did some showcases for some American labels and stuff.
My God, did you have a manager at that stage?
We did.
We did.
Just a good guy, a local boy, maybe a little bit out of his step, but he had a good heart, a good soul, and well intended. Steve McKenna, don't quite know what he's doing now, but wherever he is, God bless him. Hope he's doing well. And so yeah, we did have a manager. It could have been maybe better off maybe having someone who maybe knew the landscape a little bit better and the business acumen a bit better. But he was our guy, and he worked for us, and he tried his best. And if we were to do it all over again, would we ask Steve to be our manager? Perhaps not.
Yes,
but we probably wish him well. But yeah, so we did. We did.
Yes. And did that going to San Francisco? Did that change the vibe or the kind of feel of the album at all? Did you start feeling like, God, perhaps we should go and live in Laurel Canyon and hang out in here?
Well, we're already one foot in that door, but we did certainly. We were listening a bit more to Big Brother and Home Company, when we were there, and taking in some of that. Some of those guys were still playing around the town, in bars and stuff. So.
Yes, I would imagine.
A wee bit of that made its way on and formed it a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's got quite a Neil Young vibe on the guitar, doesn't it? Especially that track called Here I Am. It sounds very like, hey, hey, my, rock and roll is here too.
Yeah, that was just trying to get something like that riff without stealing it at the time, as I remember, something that had that.
I just wondered if you were channeling the spirit of Neil on your guitar.
Yeah, well, we certainly didn't take Britpop over with us. That's for sure.
No, there was no Britpop there.
we had no interest. We genuinely had absolutely no interest in what was coming out of.
No, you weren't on those Shine compilations, were you? You weren't.
No, and we never will.
No.
And that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's all good. So when the album came out and you came back to the UK after sunny San Francisco, did you then tour the album? Did you sort of get on the road at that stage and start to do the rounds?
Oh, yeah. Just kept touring it. So, Europe and UK until it ran its course, I suppose, I mean,
I can't remember when we, that kind of iconic Friday night, late night TV program, The Word, was that during Riffarama or was that before we recorded that?
I think it was just before we went out, because I think that was out as a single before the record. The single,
I don't know.
The singles and the EPs, some of the songs made on the album, but they're different versions. In fact, they're more produced, the singles, because by the time we got to San Francisco, as Monica said, we wanted to just do a live, not a live album, like live to an audience, but a live sort of performance in the studio kind of album. So I think So Glad was Monica's talking about The Word. We did, the Word helped us a lot because it was the programme at the time. And we got that, cherished spot on a Friday night.
Was it on your radar? Is it your Friday night watching?
It definitely, no, I'm afraid I'm a bit older. I was into the Tube with Jules and Paula Yates. That was my...
I absolutely, yeah.
I think I found it all a little bit like I felt a bit old for the word. It all seemed a bit.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the music portion was great because it had all those great bands.
That was the thing that drew us in, yeah.
And even being in the studio with all these sort of go-go dancing things,
we were like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh my God, who are these people?
Did you bump into? Is it Biss from Scotland?
The band Biss.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know them really that well, but we know of them, and
because they seem to sort of become part of that scene, didn't they, at that stage as well? The 90s.
Yeah, they were part of it for sure.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So once you'd done your tour of the UK, Europe, did you start making your second album at this stage?
It was a couple of years. We sort of toured until it, as I say, that kind of ran out of steam. Maybe a couple of years, and then we went to Parkgate in Hastings. It's another really posh studio in England.
It's beautiful.
And we actually did pre-production for that in some massive estate house, where Kylie Minogue had been the week before. And we went to Parkgate, and then it was mixed in London at one of the posh studios in London. It was all a very expensive record, actually, that never really came to life. But yeah, so there was a lot of effort put into to taking the thing forward that other people let us down on. So, yeah.
And that was it. Did you have a moment where you just, as the quote Jim Morrison, "This is the end"?
This is the end.
Yeah, I think we did have a little chapter where, we just felt, we had so much fun with Rifferam, and we actually, on reflection, really, really wish that we had just stayed on Fire Records. But that's why it's so lovely to be back with him.
Yes.
And this re-release, it really felt like kind of going back home, really, when we kind of reconnected with Clive Solomon and his team, his wonderful team at Fire there just now. So, yeah, I think we kind of felt that we maybe lost our way a little bit, and
had you signed for, or were you about to sign for another label then for the second album?
What happened was money talks, So
I think that's a classic song, isn't it, from the 60s? Yeah. Money talks.
And while that was all happening with Fire, Sony came in and gave us a publishing deal and gave us a bunch of money. We were like, "Oh, thank you very much, that's great." And then says, but now we're calling the shots, and then we don't really want you on Fire Records because they can't make you famous and get our money back. So they wanted us to find a way out, and they did eventually. But that was that big regret for us. I'd rather stayed on Fire and made 10 records,
Yeah.
And built it, or I think that would have really worked. And that was a mistake that wasn't of our doing, really. It was just the big corporation trying to push us in that particular direction. So anyway, we did get off after lots of legal wrangling. They moved us on to, we got another American label who did, as I say, spend a lot of money, and we were on wages by that time and all that kind of stuff. So we all felt quite good at the time, and we get this new manager who turned out to be a crook. He's in jail. He's actually in jail. So that was jumping out of the
in Amsterdam
into the fire. But for a short period, that was quite exciting as well, to say, because we were in big studios and it was all a lot of money, and we made a great record, which I don't want to say, but I think that maybe we'll see the light of day quite soon, because there's a bit of momentum building with the band again, because of this re-release and everything.
Yes, God, that's true.
That might see the light of day quite soon. However, so we did get another record deal, made another record, but they never really released it. It never really came out.
God, it's a very confusing story you've got, isn't it?
Oh,
I'm confused. This really happened? I'm confused.
I don't think it's probably not that unusual. There's a lot. A lot of people make bad business mistakes in music. Because you're not a businessman. People who want might write songs and sing them and play the guitar. I mean, that's all. That's all any musician really wants to do.
Well, you hand your career over to people that you really, really want to trust, and if it doesn't work out, the outcome can mean that you decide we're just going to call it a day, which is kind of what we just got a bit fed up with things not transpiring and things not getting done, and we just got a little bit tired of it. So of the business side of it, we got tired because we never ever really walked away from music at all, because that was always going to be a constant presence between us, at least, and we have been on after Thrum split, to
it's just that once you're not doing as much, people are trying to look for other things to do, so they find other bands to play with. And,
yes.
And that, it just kind of there was no official, we're splitting up and that nonsense, it just kind of people started working with other people and time went on.
Yeah.
That's just the way.
So you had a solo career, didn't you, Monica?
Yeah.
And you then did this fantastic album. I'm not sure, is it collaborative with Chris Conley, didn't you, a few years ago? Which was the birthday poems, which I was listening to, which is fantastic.
I'm glad someone's heard that album.
We love Chris. He's such a cool dude. He started in Finny Tribe and now he's in Chicago, and they've just had a box set of their material, nicely archived and released. And, the most gorgeous looking man in rock and roll, isn't he, really?
I'm so thrilled that he's actually, I can call him a friend. We can call him a friend, and that he came into our lives, not having known really much about his own musical career, being an Edinburgh boy and stuff like that, and not really knowing that much about Finny Tribe and various other things. But he just contacted out of the blue during COVID. I'm sure it was during COVID.
It was, yes. It was
He gave a little description of himself, who he was, and I get, and I still do get lots of things coming through asking me can you do this? Would you like to join this? Could you lend your voice to this? And I turned down a fair chunk of stuff, right? Because either I don't have the time, or musically it's not something I can maybe add to, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
But Chris's story came through, and immediately, from the project idea that he had to do with George Mackay Brown, the whole poetry thing, the muse, all that kind of stuff, I was really, really intrigued and interested. So we just happened to say, look, I'm interested enough. Do you want to maybe send through some stuff? So he agreed to do that. And he sent through an incredibly basic, very simple, straightforward, no frills, nothing was overly produced at that stage. And then I just had a really good listen and was out in the garden listening to it, and very simple song structures, and I really thought, there's definitely something in this, and I really loved the idea. I loved the concept, and it really, really pricked my interest and curiosity. Says that I would be happy to get involved, and then got Johnny involved. He would do a lot of the recording, and we would just be sending stuff back and forth from here to Chicago, and he would get his guys involved. And the end product is one of the projects that and musical collaborations that I've done throughout my whole career, and there's been many. And I would say that probably Chris's is one of the projects and musical ideas that I'm most proud of, I have to say.
Yes,
I love that record. Love that record.
But it's so romantic and beautiful.
Incredibly romantic. Incredibly romantic.
So these are the poems George wrote for Stella on her birthday.
That's right. Yeah.
Breaks your heart, doesn't it?
So, and the fact that there is that real human story element to it. It wasn't a fantasy thing, albeit there was a little bit of poetic license, and we could maybe colour up things a little bit, but it was fundamentally, truly, pretty much to script with George Mackay and his muse Stella. So absolutely loved it.
Yes, still available from all good Bandcamp sites, which is fantastic. I know it's lovely when you stumble across these projects and go,
I know.
Very intriguing, and such kind of lot of history and business like that. So then coming to the current time, then so with this, you've got this tour that's coming up here. So when did this? So was this all connected with the anniversary of the album?
Well, there's a bit of momentum garnered through. There's a sort of timeline of events. The North Lanarkshire Arts, whatever collective, they put on an exhibition out in North Lanarkshire about North Lanarkshire bands, covering a lot of Bell Soul and Soup Dragons, all the rest of it. But so that's the part of it. Quite a big part of it, actually. And so this was great because you're in a museum. Yes.
You can get archived.
And we like museums, we're kind of museum kind of people. So the idea of being in one was a treat. But they as it progressed, they wanted a band to do a show as part of the. It was on over 6 months, or whatever. So sort of centerpiece to it, and then we got the call to do that. So obviously, and it was kind of fitted in with the 30-year anniversary and all that. So there was a kind of theme around it. And we did that, but over the course of that, the sort of momentum of interest gathered back in the band, and Fire came on board and says, why don't we release the album? And Jed came on board as an agent and says, I really love you and I'd love to put on a tour. And so people just came to us. It just all came to us. None of it was we were just sitting in, the Byres Road having a cup of coffee when I got a phone call, none of this would have happened. We had no plans to resurrect Thrum.
No.
So, but once
did it take much persuading?
All that stuff, because we had to dig up all the archives and the videos, and you started to relive the whole experience and start to get quite enthusiastic about your younger exploits, and so here we are. We're about to go on tour, and the record's about to come back out. So. Well,
yes, and has it got? And are there bonus tracks and other archive pieces?
Well, I've remastered it, so it sounds a little bit different and sequenced it a little bit better. Not too much, on that front, but because we rehearsed so well for the show last year, and it was a big show, in a nice big hall and all that, full production. We got that recorded, and I took that to the studio and mixed this. We've got a kind of live rust. Finally got my live rust. So if you buy the album, you get a download of the concert, and it's quite high quality. It's good, it sounds like a record, and there's a couple of bonus tracks as well that we recorded in the studio. So it's a bit of a package to make it a wee bit more than just the record.
Yes, you're having a punishing week, aren't you? You're doing 7 gigs in 7 days. There's no.
Who the hell came up with that? Seriously, it just dawned on me that we're actually doing night after night, and I thought, is that why the Rolling Stones Mick goes into the gym and gets roadworthy? Because it is. We did a little show just last week, and we showed the film, the documentary that had been made, and then we did a kind of 7-8 song set after it, And I was absolutely knackered. I was like, how the hell are we going to do 7 nights of this?
Yeah, you're gonna have to sign up to the park run now, aren't you, on a Saturday and do your 5Ks.
The film Manchester is there's a little film company that does videos for because we have made many solo records, Tenement Temple, Queen stuff. We enjoy making videos for them. It's kind of part of the fun, and it's an art process in itself. William Walker and William make their videos, and they're really artistic, beautiful videos. And they made a wee film about the exhibition and the concert and all that. It's just to commemorate it. So we've been kind of showing that to little audiences and things.
So who have you got on bass and drum now? Drums.
On bass, we have Rory McGregor, very Scottish name for you. And Rory's been our bass player now for about the last sort of 10 years, I would say, maybe a little bit, maybe shorter. And then we have Robert Anderson, who is our drummer. Another, both local boys, both in lots of other bands roundabout. So, but good people, when you get to a certain stage in your life, you don't tolerate nonsense anymore, and you get like-minded people who are, you want to have a good conversation with, a good laugh, good musicianship, and you want to hang out with people that you really want to give your time to. And
absolutely,
playing music. So we have those two, and they've been playing with us for a number of years now, in various ways.
Yes. Does this mean
we have added keyboards?
Oh my God, you've added keyboards.
Yeah, we have.
I don't think Jed's too happy. He's like, no, I don't want the keyboards. I want the guitars.
But he's a wonderful chap.
I've added a proper musician to the, So Alan's like a virtuoso to play, but he's really great. He can rock as well.
Yeah. He tells us when we're all playing out of tune. And he tells us that we actually need to tune up.
That's quite useful, isn't it, really?
We had little bits of keyboards. There's keyboards on the Raffarama and follow. It would just be session. In fact, when we were in San Francisco, they wanted to get Santana's Hammond player. Like as Monica said, we were like, no, we're not having any keyboards. Was our thinking.
That was our motto. No keyboards.
Back to Glasgow, ended up in some keyboards on.
Well, I think John Peel used to sort of try and avoid bands who had a keyboard player, but
you weren't very much like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, but we just took it upon ourselves. We were like absolutely steadfast. There will be no keyboards, and look at us now. Look at us now.
So does that mean that you've got for these dates? Have you got merchandise, T-shirts, products? That you're going to be giving the fans or selling them?
Yeah. We haven't quite got the badges made yet.
T-shirts used to be a big thing. We used to sell a lot of T-shirts. So we've got some T-shirts made up. And
does this mean that you've sort of thought, now we've got this momentum and it's quite exciting? Have you started thinking, shall we do another album project, recordings? Have you started sort of...
Yeah, well, I'm always... I have things on the shelf. I've had, very bits of Thrum and stuff over the years. I've got lots of stuff on the shelf that I could easily just take off and make an album, put an album out tomorrow,
Yeah.
But that doesn't excite me as much as now that we're starting to rework some songs because I'm bored playing them. I'm already bored playing the old songs the way they were.
I know.
So that's kind of got me thinking there's really new material I'd probably be quite keen to do. Well, the pot is possible.
I mean, we have a bank of stuff. We actually were listening to some old stuff that we did, and Johnny pulled something off the shelf, and we actually did a kind of get together with Edwin Collins sessions. So we called them the Edwin Collins sessions, where we got Edwin up to come and work with us on a number of tracks. And hadn't heard them in such a long time until last week. And I was like, oh my God, they're absolutely brilliant, And I was like, they really ought to be heard. So we have that kind of thing just kicking around that I really do think would be very, very short-sighted of us not to actually maybe do something with them, because they do sound fantastic, you know.
Yes, we do need to get those kind of archives all done, don't you, and out, and and then record some new material.
And record some new material,
There you go. It'll be fantastic. It'll be. So, have you got people, or you haven't played them yet? Have you? I just wondered if your fans are people who like missed you the first time, who thought, "God, they've reformed," or are they people that were with you back in the day?
I don't know. I don't know what the demographic is. I don't know who's out there. I mean, tickets have been sold. I'm not entirely sure who to, but that's the element of surprise, I suppose. The fact that we've actually still kind of do have an audience out there, because we had two sold out shows in Glasgow just recently, and which was, you know, we were quite taken with, didn't have to work too hard to shift tickets. So that gave us some sort of kind of indicator that, well, maybe we could actually maybe put some more shows together and people might want to come. And it looks like that is the case.
That is the case. Well, yes.
Yeah. So maybe they've just been waiting. They've been waiting all this time, and they went, oh my God, Monica and Johnny from Thrum are still alive. Still got their hair, still look hopefully all right.
This is good. Have you thought of what your stage wear is going to be? Have you?
God, I don't know.
It's in the summer. I'm going to be shorts and vest.
Crocs and flip flops.
Crocs with socks.
Oh, stylish. Because I do know when the band, the Man from Del Monte reformed recently. I mean, there were people coming from all over the world, thinking, "Oh my God, I thought I'd never get to see the band." So it is quite extraordinary when people sort of book their ticket and come to see it, thinking this is a once in a lifetime moment. So it'll be interesting to see where the furthest fan come from.
I know. We'll maybe put the question out at some point, but it does feel you do feel quite responsible. You have to. People have paid good money for a ticket, so our days of turning up, drunk and shambolic, albeit that's maybe what made it exciting back then. But 30 years later, we've really had to come out, a little bit more sober and less alcohol, and a little bit more responsible.
Yes,
for putting on a good night, hopefully.
Did you have
that experience before, actually having to think about giving people their money's worth, putting on a show, a professional show, if you like, But ticket prices, I mean, even at Winfields, we're charging people £25. I'm like, what? You can't charge people £25 to come see us. I was like in the 90s when it was £2.50.
I was going to say, you'd get for £2.50 at the Norwich Wild Club. You'd have 3 bands for that. So do you have a list of all the gigs, all the places that you played during that time?
Oh gosh!
Or back in the day.
I just wondered if did you ever come to Norwich, and did you have?
We played at university with Gantly Buffalo. I know that. We also played it on our own a number of times.
Played tons of places. I mean, really up and down in that van. I'm terrible with names. I don't take note of anything like that.
So Norwich you mentioned the UEA, and there's also the Norwich Arts Centre or Epic or the Waterfront. So they were the ones, but
all of them ring a bell.
They all ring a bell. Yeah, we do actually have a huge tea chest of archived stuff that
I
don't remember going to the cathedral. I'm looking forward to visiting the cathedral this time.
Yes. Well, that would be nice. That would be great.
That's the kind of thing we like to do every day.
Yeah.
Well, it's always...
We're going to do a cathedral tour. So we're going to do Durham, Norwich.
Well, we have played... what's the church in London? Is that one in London? This one in London.
I've never seen Milk Carton Kids.
Yeah, I've seen the Milk Carton Kids. Oh, I've seen lots of people.
Yes. Well,
Churches are absolutely incredible spaces, designed acoustically for music to be heard. So, and that's we're actually playing a church on part of this tour. It's in Glasgow it's a Cottiers. I mean, it's obviously, it's not a functioning church anymore, but it's beautiful stained glass windows. The pews are all still intact, but they're great. These are really, really wonderful spaces. And I tend to think people enjoy being in lots of different, unique performance spaces these days, A black box of a room doesn't really do it anymore.
No, you need the grandeur. I know there's the Medieval Babes. They always do a cathedral tour in the UK.
That's right, yeah.
So it's a nice occasion, and it has a sort of
a nice occasion. Absolutely.
There's a lot. But I think the Norwich Arts Centre, that's also an old church that they... Oh, really? That's right. I was told that the Church of England was sort of saying to people... I think they had lots of churches and they said, look, for £1 you can have the church, but obviously you're going to have to then do all the maintenance and upkeep, and you won't be able to do anything very easily. Yeah. But it would be really handy if it doesn't just fall into, disrepair.
Well, we're all for that. Anything to sort of kind of save any sort of kind of architectural building is good in my book, really.
Yes, and we do have a lot of amazing churches in this area.
Yeah, we certainly do. We certainly do.
So there you go.
But but remember, UK, as Johnny says, we've been up and down it.
We've been on those modes. Well, look, thank you ever so much for this. This has been, we managed to do this so easily, didn't we, in the end? But I think, was it Gerald? Was it Gerald or Gerard?
Jed, I think.
Jed. For short, but Gerard, I think, is his name.
Right, well...
He's been wonderful.
Well, he said he's a fan of your podcast, so that's why he was keen for us to do it.
Good. I'm glad.
You have a fan.
I've got a fan. Yeah, I know. I'll send him a Christmas card. Thank you. Yes, well, he's been very good.
You have 2 more. So
thank you. Well, phew. That's great. Well, look, I hope you keep very well over the summer, and it all goes really well for your... Yes, and hopefully new material coming out in the future. It's the way to go.
Yeah.
No, it won't take us long
to rustle up some sort of musical stew, I don't know.
But yes, if you think of Neil Young and the amount of work he did, you think, well, you've got to keep on rocking in the free world, as they say.
He must have. He was making great records, very late on in his career, which is unusual for people of his generation, but really tailed off quite early. He has tailed off the last
he has
20 years.
Well, a friend,
he was about 50, in his 50s. He was making great records.
God, yeah, he was amazing. But look, I'll let you groove. But thanks a lot, and take care, and all the best. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care. Lovely chatting with you. Bye.
Bye. And that was me in conversation with Monica and Johnny from Thrum. This has been the C86 show. David Eastaugh. Have a great week. Stay safe.